Hi, everyone.
Hello again. We're on page 84 of the Finished Mystery. We've mentioned that about 13 pages are dedicated here to their exposition of one verse, and a fraction of a verse at that, about the 24 elders before the throne of God in heaven. And who are the 24? Well, the 24 patriarchs, prophets from the Old Testament. Here they dedicate more than 2 pages just to Job. And then when you look at it more closely, you realize it's not really about Job. It's about Leviathan and Behemoth, and they are not even creatures. They're not living creatures anymore. They are now modern inventions. So we're not gonna belabor all of this because there's 2 pages of ridiculous stuff here, but we'll give you a sample for sure. But they do have one paragraph at the beginning about Job, but even that they twist out of recognition when you know the contents of the book of Job. So let's read the paragraph about Job anyway.
After the Sabaeans had made off with his oxen and asses, after a bolt of lightning had burned up his sheep, after the Chaldeans had stolen his camels and murdered his servants, after a whirlwind had blown down his house and killed all his children, after he was covered with boils from head to foot, after his wife had gone back on him, and after his 3 remaining friends tried to prove to him that he was a hypocrite, that's Job prayed that he might go to hell and stay there until God's wrath should be past, and that then God would remember him in resurrection. Job records Elihu's prophetic statement that when the messenger of the covenant has returned, death will cease and men not need to go into the tomb. Job also describes the steam engine, stationary, railway, and marine.
Well, before we get to the steam engine, let's talk about what you discovered in Job. You stopped going door to door when you found out that Job is not talking about resurrection, as they definitely say here. This, you might think the whole book of Job is about the revelation of the resurrection based on this.
Yeah. Well, even the setting of Job, I was very foggy on it. I knew proof text from Job. So even what they say here about Job records Elihu's prophetic statement, nowhere does any of his friends say, I'm getting this from God. So it's not a prophetic statement.
They're private thoughts.
It's men discussing or trying to make sense of what's happened to Job.
Yeah, they also reference Job 14, which was a big stumbling block for you.
Yeah, I think it was when I got to that passage. Well, reading the whole book of Job, I could see I was just pulling scriptures because sometimes Job is hopeful and sometimes he's not. So
Yeah,
why
and he
do we pick the
fluctuates. So
hopeful one?
this is not God revealing anything to him. These are his thoughts, meditations, hopes.
Yeah.
So we've got a video about this, Vivian's testimony as to how Job stopped her going door to door when she realized she was misquoting or misrepresenting Job.
Stop me from talking at the door.
We'll put that link on at the end. But now to the steam engine. The following is a corrected translation of Job 40 verse 15 to 41:34 with comments thereon from the pen of one of Pastor Russell's followers. Now we have 2 pages of quotes from one of Pastor Russell's followers about what Job means and the implications of this, because all you had to do is, instead of consulting one of Pastor Russell's followers, all you had to do is go to the commentaries. There's lots of great ones out there, even then, 100 years ago, on Job. Or go to a Bible dictionary, look up Behemoth and Leviathan, and you would have known better than what you have here. So we'll just give you some juicy samples of what this follower of Pastor Russell has to say about Behemoth and Leviathan. Behold, now one with great heat, in a bracket, this man has the stationary steam engine, which I have made to be with thee. He will consume fodder, in bracket, peat, wood, coal, as do cattle. Behold, now his strength is in his loins, in the bracket again, boiler plates. and his power is within the parts bent in a circle, in a bracket, boiler shell, of his belly. The circle of his belly is a boiler shell. His tail, that is, in bracket, smokestack, opposite the feeding end, will set upright like a cedar. The couplings of his leaping parts, bracket, connecting rods, pitmans, will be clamped together. His bones are tubes of copper. So
Yeah,
you
it
get
keeps going
the
that
flavor. Another 10 or so lines are all about what this means in terms of a modern steam engine. Then they move to Leviathan, and this is what they say about what Leviathan means.
Thou will lengthen out Leviathan, in brackets, the locomotive, with a hook, bracket, automatic coupler, or with a snare, coupling pin, which thou wilt cause his tongue, coupling link, to drop down. Wilt thou not place a ring, and then in brackets, piston, in his nostrils, in brackets, cylinders, or pierce through his cheeks, piston ends, with a staff, piston rod? Will he make repeated supplication unto thee, in the brackets, to get off the track? Or will he utter soft tones unto thee, in brackets, when he screeches with the whistle? Will he make a covenant with thee, and with thou that thou mayest take him for a servant forever, within brackets, without repairs? Wilt thou play with him as with a bird, and then in brackets, make him whistle at will? Or wilt thou bind, is it bind?
Yeah.
Or wilt thou bind, in brackets, enslave him for thy maidens, brackets, so that you can take them to a picnic or convention? Companies, in brackets, of stockholders will feast upon him, his earnings. They shall share him among speculators.
So you can see just from these two samples that all this is extremely arbitrary. And if you'd gone to any of the commentaries of Christendom at the time, I'm talking about the legit commentaries, not just preachers, but rather scholars, you would have found out how ridiculous all this is, and that they would make their first rule of interpretation. What did this mean to the original audience in the days of Job and in the days of the Old Testament? To the church for the last 1800 years until Russell and his followers came along.
They always have to fit it into their own time. So you saw that in the Harp of God too, wasn't that, where they had all these things as proofs of the last days, and typewriter was one of them, and egg beaters and
all kinds of
like that.
Stuff like that, which they kept doing right through the 20s and 30s, republishing this book and then the Harp of God in multiple editions. So everything that you can see with your eyes is a proof that you yourself, of course, are living in the last days.
It's very
and that
arbitrary.
everything that you can see with your eyes somehow is a fulfillment of prophecy. And of course they're still doing that without the ridiculous extremes we have here, but that's still their habit, to find themselves in Bible prophecy.
You were going to read a little bit more from that paragraph.
From the last paragraph on page 86, on this portion on so-called supposedly about Job. This is about what they find, where they find the navy in the book of Job. It says, he will, as a marine engine, cause deep places to become as a boiling pot about his propellers. He will make the sea to appear like boiling ointment. He will make a path to shine after him. One will think the deep to be growing gray. Upon the earth there is not his like, he that is so constructed that he can fear nothing. So all this becomes about modern naval weaponry.
So this is a description they're getting from which one? From
Job 15.
Behemoth, is it the Behemoth?
This is Behemoth and Leviathan, So this is all supposedly from Job 40:15 to 41:34. And of course, they've abandoned these interpretations today. And if you go to their dictionary, you'll find out what Christendom has known all along.
Yeah, they didn't do Humpty.
So, yeah, this is an embarrassment, and it's no wonder that Ray Franz, in his, I think it's in his second book, he doesn't ridicule this. He just thinks it's pathetic that God's people were to view this at the time, 1917, and for 10 years afterwards, as meat in due season.
Yeah.
What they needed to know
Yeah.
the Bible is about themselves.
Yeah. Well, I found it very disturbing that this could have passed for spiritual food at all.
Yeah.
It just seemed silliness. How did it get in print? That people would conjure this idea up and think it was worth giving to everyone.
New light that Christendom doesn't have.
Yeah.
We'll put in actually 3 links this time. First of all, Ray Franz's meditations on Job and Humpty. He doesn't make the comparison with Humpty Dumpty, but
We do that, yeah.
So Job and Humpty, the engines and hippopotamuses. That's not the right plural, though, is it?
Hippopotami.
Hippopotami.
Mm-hmm.
But I like hippopotamuses. And then Vivian's video on how Job stopped her from going door to door, and also the light bulb playlist. Vivian's done a whole series of light bulb moments on video. I think there's more than 40 now.
Yeah, there's more to come, but I just haven't gone back to it.
See you next time.
Bye.